Before borders were drawn and before foreign empires arrived, Africa already breathed stories. People moved along rivers, through forests and across savannas carrying myths that explained rains, justice and humanity's place in a vast unseen order. These tales traveled in voices, drums, carvings and patterns of beads and cloth. They were as mobile as the people themselves and as adaptive as the landscapes they crossed. Most of the world still equates African mythology with Egypt's pyramids and falcon-headed gods. Yet beyond the Nile Valley stretched thousands of other cosmologies seldom printed in textbooks. Along coasts, in highlands, deserts and deep forests, countless communities had their own pantheons. River mothers, sky fathers, ancestral judges, spirits of crossroads, beings who invented weaving or blacksmithing. They were not static icons but characters in ongoing dramas that made sense of life's unpredictability. Picture a night in the Sahel 1,000 years ago. A caravan pauses at a dusty crossroads. Merchants unload salt and gold, build a small fire, and one mutters a prayer to an invisible guardian of the path. Shift the scene to a dense forest in present-day Benin. Water tumbles from a hidden fall. A woman lays a calabash of fruit at the edge of the pool for a local river goddess whose name outsiders have never heard. To the community, she protects fertility and health. To the visitor, it is just a waterfall. Such moments created a subtle spiritual landscape. Because no single script fixed the stories, each could change with circumstances. A sky goddess in one region might become a river mother in another. A trickster who once brought fire might in a new version teach survival during drought. This fluidity made African mythology hard for outsiders to map yet remarkably resilient. Like seeds scattered by wind, ideas sprouted wherever conditions allowed. Even the medium of storytelling reinforced survival. Myths were sung at planting time with rhythms matching hoe strikes, told at night so children learned ethics while being entertained, embodied in dance so knowledge lived in muscles as well as minds. Masks turned performers into spirits. Drum patterns announced which invisible guest had arrived. To forget a story completely, one would have to silence songs, stop festivals, break proverbs. Almost impossible. This is why, even after colonization and forced conversions, traces of the lost gods still pulse in everyday acts. Another hallmark is proximity. In much of Africa, the divine walks the same path as villagers, accepts food from their hands, tests them at crossroads or withdraws quietly when balance is broken. Ancestors bridge the gap between humans and higher beings. Pouring libations on the ground feeds the dead and honors the forces that govern rain, harvest, and health. The everyday and the eternal meet in a simple gesture. Even the word God can mislead. Some traditions speak of a single creator who withdrew after making the world, leaving a multitude of spirits to handle daily affairs. Others describe energies of nature rather than personal deities. Understanding means letting each tradition speak on its own terms. Seeing a river mother as more than a goddess, a trickster as more than a devil, an ancestor as more than a ghost. Every environment forged its own visions of the unseen. In the Sahel, caravans crossing dusty crossroads left offerings to a spirit of balance before trading. In West Africa's forests, hidden waterfalls sheltered river mothers known only to one village. On Ethiopian mountaintops, milk and honey were poured for a sky power who sent lightning and rain. In the Kalahari, the tiny praying mantis became a messenger of cosmic patience. Myths migrated with people, changing accents but keeping core lessons about sharing, hospitality, and respect for land and ancestors. In the Mande heartlands, a creator called Mangala began with a cosmic seed. When that seed split too soon, disorder entered creation. Mangala refashioned the world, binding twin forces to restore balance. A vision of creation as careful weaving rather than a single command. East of the Great Lakes, stories tell of Rahanga, a high god who sets moral tasks before the first humans to test their character. South in the Kalahari, Khoisan tell of Kagan, the praying mantis who shapes the moon and teaches survival skills through humor and cunning. Each name opens a doorway to a different moral and ecological world. Across the continent, the same archetypes appear under different names. A rainbow serpent coils beneath the earth in Dahomey, dwells in deep pools in southern Africa, arches across the sky among the Baganda. High gods withdraw after disappointment, leaving ancestors or spirits to guide daily life. Tricksters mediate between worlds. Anansi the spider in Ghana, Legba the crossroads spirit in Benin, Kagan in the Kalahari. Different creatures, same lesson. Intelligence over force, movement between realms, adaptability as sacred. Regional differences arise from ecology. In forest zones, the divine often takes the form of animals hidden in foliage. Leopards, pythons, river spirits. On open savannas, sky gods dominate, associated with rain, thunder, and cattle. In arid lands, small creatures like mantises or hares carry mythic weight because they embody cunning survival. These local textures give each version of a myth its distinctive color and rhythm. Here the divine stands close to people. The amphibious Nommo arrive from the river bringing crafts and warnings about imbalance. Takar watches oaths under ancient trees, punishing not with thunder but by eroding a leader's prestige. Kagan throws a sandal into the sky to make the moon, teaches survival skills and blunders along the way, a reminder that even creative power learns through mistakes. Around the Niger Delta, countless unnamed water spirits guard single pools or markets. For locals, they're not minor, but intimate protectors. Female forces hold equal sway. Stormbringer Oya, dual-natured Moalisa, river mothers who heal and transform. Each figure shows a different facet of life. Justice, adaptability, fertility, humor. African myths unfold as mini-dramas of choice and consequence. One Dogon tale tells how two clans fought over a spring. When they chose to hoard water, the Nommo withdrew and drought followed, a lesson about stewardship. Among the Serer, a chief who broke his vow under a Takar tree lost his wealth and honor, showing that justice is rooted in place. Kagan's clumsy creation of the moon teaches that innovation is iterative. These tales encode ethics, ecology, and resilience. Beneath the plots lies a symbolic language. Serpents bridging worlds and shedding skin for renewal. Mantises embodying patience and sharp perception. Numbers 3 and 4 marking cycles and directions. Colors white for water, red for iron, black for earth, gold for the sun. Calabashes become cosmic containers, staffs and iron blades signs of authority. Dance, drum patterns and masquerade steps preserve meaning even when words fade. This is how myths survive. In gestures, rhythms, and designs as much as in speech. Although many names are forgotten, their archetypes still shape life. Sacred groves once protected by taboos now shelter rare species. Proverbs about rivers and ancestors still guide daily decisions. Bead colors and mask shapes reappear in fashion and music. In the Americas, descendants of enslaved Africans carried these deities into Vodou, Candomblé, and Santeria, blending them with new saints and spirits. Modern comics, films, and games borrow African storm goddesses, tricksters, and warrior queens, often without knowing the lineage. Anthropologists, psychologists, and environmental scientists are now documenting how these traditions encode social balance, cognitive flexibility, and sustainability. Archaeologists scan rock art of horned beings painted millennia ago. Linguists trace deity names across language families. Psychologists study how trickster stories teach problem-solving. Environmentalists note that sacred pools and forests protected by spirits preserve biodiversity better than surrounding land. Far from being relics of superstition, these myths hold practical insights into social cohesion, ecology, and resilience. At the same time, communities adapt them. A story about a punishing serpent may become a parable about environmental care. A dance once linked to warfare may become a celebration of unity. This ongoing reinterpretation keeps the myths relevant, not frozen. Standing at a riverbank at dawn, watching a rainbow over water, or seeing a mantis sway on a thorn bush, one can still feel the continuity. The land remembering, the gestures echoing, the stories whispering. The lost gods are not lost at all. They have simply changed language and form, inviting anyone who listens to rediscover connection, balance, and wonder. They also carry messages that feel urgent now. The Nommo's warning about sharing water speaks to a planet wrestling with scarcity. Takar's Tree of Oaths speaks to the need for justice rooted in place. Kagan's burnt fingers remind that creativity is iterative and mistakes are part of making light. The rainbow serpent winding beneath the earth reminds that everything is connected. Harm one part and the whole trembles. These are not archaic lessons but blueprints for living with balance, courage, humor, and reverence. The myths also model a way of holding knowledge. They are flexible without being formless, layered without being rigid. They invite participation. A child can listen for entertainment, an initiate can hear deeper truths, a scholar can study patterns, an artist can draw inspiration. This open architecture has allowed them to survive. It also suggests how modern societies might hold their own stories, as living, adaptable frameworks rather than brittle dogmas. Remembering these myths does not mean idealizing the past. It means recognizing the creative intelligence of communities who, without written texts, built complex cosmologies that still guide lives today. It means honoring the storytellers, dancers, and priests who carried them across generations. It means allowing those voices to speak on their own terms rather than through outside filters. What appears lost to the written record can be fully alive in the pulse of a drum, the pattern of a cloth, the laughter in a trickster tale. What appears remote may be intimate. What seems like a relic may be a seed waiting to germinate in a new context. Listening to these stories does not simply recover the past, it expands the present.